Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sophia Salam. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how I made this beautiful bustier blouse with Queen Anne neckline. And trust me when I tell you this video is detailed. I put everything I know into this video. I want you to really learn something from this video. So, if this is your first time stumbling on my channel, do well to subscribe and like my videos. And if you learned something from this tutorial, do well to share this video with other people who might really need it. So thank you so much for stopping by. Let's get started with the pattern. Thank you.
So first thing first, I'm gonna head to mark out 3/4 of an inch here, which is going to be my starting line. So the next thing I'm going to mark out now, I'm going to mark out my bust point, shoulder to my bust point, shoulder to under bust line, shoulder to my waistline, and shoulder to my blouse tip. So that is what I'm going to mark here. So I'm just going to go ahead and label it now. This is my nipple point. This is my under bust. This is my waistline. And this is my blouse length. So this is going to be my center front. The next thing I want to do now is to mark out my shoulder. The shoulder I'm working with is 15.5. So 15.5 divided by 2 is going to give me 7/3/4. So I'm just going to mark out 7/3/4 here. So this is 7/3/4. I'm just going to mark it out here. So I'm just going to extend the line down to my So the next thing I want to do now is to create my shoulder slope. So in order to create my shoulder slope, the first thing I'm going to do is to come here and go down by 1 inch. Then I'm going to mark out 3 inches neck width. The 3 inches is standard. So since I'm working with a I want to do a Queen Anne neckline, so I don't need to widen the neck so much. So 3 inches is okay. So I'm just going to come here and mark 3 inches. So this is 3 inches here. Then I'm going to take my ruler, connect this point to this 1 inch mark. So the next thing I want to work on now is to create my armhole curve. So in order to do that, I will be needing my round bust measurement. So the round bust I'm working with is 35. So 35 divided by 6 plus 1.5 is going to give me 7.333 something. So I'm just going to be using 7.25 here. I repeat, in order to get your armhole curve, you will be needing your round bust measurement divided by 6. So round bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5. So what I got here is 7.33. I'm going to be using 7.25. So that's what I'm just going to mark here now. So I'm just going to go ahead and extend the line. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do now is to divide my bust by 4. The bust I'm working with is 35. 35 divided by 4 is going to give me 8.75. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that 8.75 on this line. Then I'm going to come here and divide what I have into 2. So what I have here is 7¼ So 7¼ divided by 2 is 3½ and 1 line. So I'm just going to mark that out now. Then from this point, I'm going to go in by ½ inch. That is it. So I'm just going to take the curvy part of my ruler. I'm going to use it to connect this point to this point to this point. So I'm just going to do that now. Okay. The next thing that I'm going to do now is to create my dart. So in order to, the dart I want to, this person is a little bit busty. So the dart I'm going to be working with is, the dart I want to work with is 1½. So I will divide 1½ into 2. That will give me 0.75 on both sides. So in order to do that, I will need my nipple to nipple measurement. The nipple to nipple measurement I'm working with is 7¼ 7¼ divide. I'm now going to divide 7¼ into 2. 7¼ divided by 2 is going to give me 3½ and 1 line. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that out now. Then I'm going to take it down to the blouse length. Then I'm going to take my ruler to connect it. Okay, this is it. So I'm just going to go ahead and divide my 1½ into 2 and spread it across. So that will be 0.75 here, 0.75 here. Then on the nipple line, I'm going to go down by 1 inch. Then connect it. So the next thing, this thing I will now extend it down to the blouse length. So the blouse length is, so I'm just going to go up by 1½ inch on the blouse length. Then connect it like this. Like this. So the next thing I want to do now is to determine my neck depth. So usually this depends totally on you, but me, I like to work with 6½ for me or my clients. So I'm just going to be going down from the shoulder line down to 6½. So I'm just going to come and mark 6½ from here. 6½. 6.5, but 6.5 is not too deep for a neck. It's not even deep at all for a neck depth. So this is my neck depth. So the next thing I want to do now is to create the cup. So in order to do that, I'm going to need to create a line that goes from the nipple point down to my shoulder slope. So what I'm going to do now is to divide my shoulder slope, what I have here from here to here, divide it into two. So what I have here is 4 3/4. So if I divide 4 3/4 into 2, I will have 2 and 3 lines. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that now. 2 and 3 lines. Can you see? So I'm going to extend with a straight line, go from the nipple line down to this place. So the next thing I want to work on now is to do my under bust tightening. Yes, this is the part where it gets really tricky for tailors, especially beginners. Some people will say you should go up out here, you should take 1 inch on both sides of this line. But what I usually do is I will try and work on my waist first. Once I have decided on the amount of waist that I want to take, in this case it is 1.5, then I'm not going to impute my round waist measurement. The round waist measurement I'm working with is 28. So I will now come 28 divided by 4 is going to give me 7. So I'm now going to mark out that 7 on this line. So in order to do that, I'll just mark 7 here. Then the amount of waist that is what? 1.5. 1.5. So I'm just going to mark out 1.5 here. Can you see? So there is no extra allowance here. It's just my round waist measurement plus my dart allowance. This is what I have here. Then on my bust line, there is no extra allowance. It is just my bust divided by 4. So I'm now going to connect that 2 points with a broken line. I will connect these 2 points with a broken line like this, just to know how much bust tightening I will need to do. So once you have done this, the next thing you are going to do is to mark out your round under bust measurement. My under bust measurement is 27. So 27 divided by 4 is going to give me 6.75. So I'm now going to measure out that 6.75 on my under bust line. In order to do that, I'll just measure what I have. Remember, this is a dart, so I'm not going to include it in my measurement. So I'm just going to measure from here to this line is 3.25. Then this 3.25, I will bring it and place it on this other dart leg like this. Can you see? Then from here, then I will now mark out 6.75. So this is 6.75 on this line. Whatever I have here left is what I'm going to use to create my cup. So I'm just going to measure out what I have here now. So what I have here is 1.25. So I'm not going to divide that 1.25 in between these two sides. So, but I am not going to divide it equally. I'm going to divide it in such a way that the smaller part is on this side, while the bigger part is on this side. So that 1.25, I'm just going to divide it half and 3/4. So assuming I have 1.5, I'll just put half on this side. Assuming I have 1 1.5. I'll just take half on this side, then take 1 on this side. But what I have now is 1.25. So I am going to take 1. I'm going to take 1 on this side towards the armhole. Then I'm going to take half on this side towards the center point. So let's do that now. 1.25. So I'm just going to measure out. Half inch on this side. Then measure out 3/4 on this side. I hope you understand what I'm saying. It is what I have here, which is 1.25 that I divided, but I did not divide it equally. I divided it in such a way that you just have to suit yourself in this part. But just make sure that no matter how you divide it, you don't divide it. You divide it in such a way that the smaller part goes towards here, towards the center point, while the bigger part of your division goes towards the armhole side. You don't want this side to look funny. That's why we tend to take small darts on this side. So now, this dart here, this initial dart that I created, have served its purpose. And this broken line that I created, have served its purpose. All I'm going to do now is to measure what I have from this, my center line, measure from here to here, then mark whatever I have, mark it on my blouse length and on my waistline, then measure what I have from here to here. Whatever I have, I will mark it from here to here. I'll mark it again here and mark it again on my blouse length. So let's do that now. So what I have here is 3/4. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that 3/4 here as well. See, it is exactly on my dart. Then mark out 3/4. Can you see? So I'm just going to take my straight ruler and connect the 2 points together, the 3 points, straight from my under bust. Then what I have here is 1 inch. So I will mark out 1 inch. 1 inch. Then 1 inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that straight up. So the next thing now is to create the cup. So in order to create the cup, you will need the curvy part of your ruler. Then you are going to take it. Remember, this is our bust point, exactly our bust point, which is our nipple to nipple divided by 2. This is it here. So you don't want anything to affect this point at all. So I want to try and connect this point on my under bust to this point. So you can either go down by 1 inch like I did, or even go down with half an inch, depending on how well you can manage your curve ruler. Just make sure that how you connect it, this place is not affected. So I'm just going to take the curvy part of my ruler. See, can you see the way I place the curve ruler? So the curvy part is on the nipple point. So don't place it like this. Don't place it like this. No. Place it, the curvy part should be on the. So I'm just going to, you take your time. I'm just going to take my pencil. I'm just going to take my pencil and connect it. So the next thing now is to connect this point to the bust point. So in order to do that, I don't want to place my ruler on top of this point directly. So I'm just going to go away from there by a very tiny bit, like this. So I'm now going to connect this point to this tiny bit. It's not even up to, let me measure it. It's not even up to one line, so it's just in the middle of one line. So I'm just going to go like that, then take my curve ruler. Next thing now is to do an overbust tightening. So the overbust tightening depends largely on how busty or how big is your client. You can, if your client is busty, you can do 1 inch on both sides, or the minimum you can do is ½ inch on both sides. But for this client, I want to do 1/4 inch on both sides. So, or 1.5 inch, but I can do I can decide to do 1/4 inch on both sides, or decide to do ½ inch on this side, or and 1 inch on this side. But that depends on which the division that give me the perfect transition. So if I decide to do ½ inch on this side, then take 1 inch on this side. So I'm just going to check, did I get a smooth curve from here to here? If I don't, I'll take it back a bit. So let me show you what I'm trying to explain. So this is it, from this place to this place. Did I get a smooth transition? See, if I should draw it like this, I'm going to have a kind of arc here. So let me just take it back a bit. So I'm just going to measure. I'm just going to measure 3/4. So if I measure 3/4, so see, at least the curve I'm getting here is better than. So that is it. Then since I've already taken 3/4 here, so I'm just going to mark 3/4 here as well. So I'm just going to take my curve ruler. Can you see? Let me try and smoothing this piece out. So, and I need to extend this line. Can you see? So that is it. So the next thing I want to do now is to measure from this place to this place. So I'm just going to measure that now and see what I have. Measure from this place to this place, then measure from this place to this, they are equal. And let me first measure here. What I have here is almost 3. Then let me measure what I have here. So this is 3¼ So that means this place is 1/4 inch short to this place. So I'm going to mark it out now. I'm just going to mark 1/4 inch here. Can you see? So this is now going to give me, so that when I'm sewing, I will not have shortage by the time I join the two together. So the next thing I want to do now is to create my sweetheart neckline. So from here, remember, from here to this place it's 6.5. I hope our neck depth is 6.5. So I'm just going to go down here by 3/4 inch. If you are a beginner, I will advise you don't take this sweetheart neckline too deep, because if it is too deep, especially if you now want to attach a yoke to it, it is going to stress you a bit. So, but since I'm not even going to attach any yoke here, the only yoke is the Queen Anne neckline, so I don't have problem. I can even take it deeper than this, because I can do as much as 1.5. But my client will complain that the cleavage is showing too much, so that's why I'm doing 1/4 inch here. So I'm just going to take my curve ruler. I want you to pay attention to the way I place the ruler. The curvy part is on this side, while the more straight part is here. So the next thing I want to do now is to cover up the shortage I'm going to have on this armhole line. So I need you to pay attention to this. You see, I've already created a dart here. I hope you can see that there is a dart here. So that means by the time I cut out, I'm going to cut out like this, then cut out like this. So that means this space is lost on my chest line. Can you see? So I need to make up for it. So how do I make up for it? I'm going to measure what I have here. This is 1.5. I'm not going to bring it here. So I'm going to, from this my armhole line, I'm just going to mark 1.5 and mark it here. If you don't make up for this shortage here, you will not like what you are going to get after you join it together, because by the time you finish sewing it, you will not have enough fabric to join your sleeve to the armhole. So that is why I am bringing this dart back to this place. So in order to confirm, let me confirm it to you again. You know, the original, this is our chest line. Our chest line, normally this is what I'm supposed to have. Let me measure it for you. I'm supposed to have 7.25. So, but remember, what I'm supposed to have 7.25. But by the time I cut it out, this is what I'm going to have. So this is okay, 3 and 3 line. Then I'm going to place that 3 and 3 line on this place now. So I'm going to have almost 6. It's not even up to 6. So can you see? So if I don't make up for it, so that means I'll be having shortage. So that's why I'm bringing this back to this place. So another shortage we need to pay attention to is on this bust line. So let me show you. This is my bust line, Abby. If I extend it like this, so by the time I cut this out and cut this out, this one will be lost. So I'm just going to measure out what I have here, 1/2 inch. I'm now going to bring it back here, 1/2 inch. I'm going to bring it back here. Then this 1.5, this same 1.5, this shortage, I'll bring it here again. Can you see? So I'm now going to connect this to this. Then this is now going to be my new armhole. So I'm just going to connect it with the curvy part of my ruler. Though by the time you finish sewing, if you cut this out, by the time you finish sewing, you join the body together, the yoke and everything. You might need to trim this off a bit, but it's better you have it in excess than trim it off than you not having enough fabric to join your sleeve. I hope you understand. So if you do this, you are going to be on the good side, and it's better for you to have enough fabric as seam allowance than not having enough to even sew the fabric. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to add my sewing allowance. So the sewing allowance I want to do here is 2 inches. I'm just going to add 2 inches here. So the next thing I want to work on is my waistline. The waist I'm working with is 28. So 28 divided by 4, it is 7. So I'm just going to mark out 7 here. I'm going to mark 7. This is 7 here. Then measure what I have here. This is 1/3. I'm going to mark 1/3 here. So this is it here. Then I'm going to add 2 inches for sewing allowance. Can you see? Then I'm going to put my blouse length. The blouse length, I'm going to measure out my hip. The hip I'm working with is 41. So 41 divided by 4 is 10 1/4. So I'm just going to mark out that 10 1/4 here. 10 1/4. So this is 10 1/4. Then I'm going to measure out what I have here, which is 1 3/4. I'm going to add it here. Then I'm going to add 2 inches for sewing allowance. I hope you understand. So I'm just going to connect this point on the bust line to the waistline, then to the hip point. So then I'm going to take the curvy part of my ruler, then connect it like this. So this is it. The next thing I want to do is to add ½ inch here. I will add ½ inch here for sewing allowance, because I'm going to join the main fabric to the lining. I will need ½ inch to join this place. Then I will need ½ inch to join the back to the shoulder. So I will need ½ inch. So I'm going to add half inch here. Please make sure you add this. If you don't add the one on the blouse line, please add this shoulder ½ inch to join it, please. If you don't join it, it's going to affect everything you have been working on. I hope you understand. So this is now going to be my sewing allowance. I'm going to add ½ inch. So that is it. Okay. So this just going to cut it out. The next thing I want to do now is to create the Queen Anne neckline. So in order to do that, I will just measure from this our old armhole. So remember, for the down part, this is going to be our armhole. This is where our armhole is going to start from. But for this upper part, our old armhole still remains, is still valid. But for the down part, this old armhole is what we are going to be using. But what I want to do now, what I want to work on now is for the upper part, which is the Queen Anne neckline. So I'll be using this old armhole. So I'm just going to measure what I have from here to here. So which will be enough to create my Queen Anne neckline. So what I have is around 2 1/4. So I'm just going to take my ruler. I'll just take with a straight ruler. I'm just going to connect this point to my 3 inches neck width here. So by the time I am sewing it, this place is not going to be exactly on what I sew. I will shift it back a bit. Remember, I still have this much allowance on this part. I hope you understand what I'm saying. By the time I cut it, I will show you exactly what I'm talking about. But by the time I cut this place out, then this side, I will shift it backward, so it will come, and this place will now be resting on this side. I hope you understand. This point here will be resting on here, so there will be enough space before the joining on the bust. I hope you understand. So the next thing now is to eliminate the gaping I'm likely going to have by the time I join this yoke to the body. So how do you do that? So on this yoke here, I'm just going to go up by 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch like this. Then I'll connect it to this like this. So I'm going to cut out. So by the time I'm cutting, I'll cut out this place. It is just to eliminate gaping and any excess fabric I might have there. So that is it. So I will cut this out now. Then I'm going to start drafting the back pattern. So by the time you are cutting it, you're going to add half inch to this side, then half inch to this side. The same thing goes for here. You will add half inch here for joining the two cup, half inch, then you add half inch here. So on this side, so I'm going to add half inch here in order to join this side to this place. Can you see? Then I'm going to add half inch here. So let's start drafting the back pattern now. Okay guys, so for the back pattern, I've gone ahead to mark out my 1 inch starting line. I marked out my armhole, which is 8¼ so this is it here. Then I marked out my under bust line. I don't need this under bust line for the back pattern, but I usually mark it out like this so that when I'm cutting the fabric, I will know where to notch for my under bust, then the waistline and the blouse length. So this place here, what I marked here is 1½, which is going to serve as my zip allowance. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to remember how we got this 8¼ after going down here by 1 inch. Then I'll divide my bust by 6. The bust I'm working with is 35 divided by 6, then add 1.5. so whatever you have is what you are going to mark here. So I have 7¼ then plus this 1 inch, making 8¼ so I have gone down by 1 inch to create shoulder slope. Then I'm going to mark out my neck width. The standard neck width I used is 3 inches. It's the same thing I used for the front as well. So this is 3. Then I'm now going to take my straight ruler, connect the 2 points together. So like this. Then I'm going to get the midpoint here, 7¼ half of 7¼ so this is it. So in this case, I will not be going in by half of an inch like I did from the front. So this is back pattern, so I don't need to go in. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to divide my bust. The bust I'm working with is 35. So 35 divided by 4 is 8.75. So this is 8.75 here. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that out. So 8.75. So I'll just mark that out here. Then I am going to use my curve ruler to connect the points together. So this midpoint I got here is just to serve as a guide as to how I'm going to curve it. So the next thing I want to work on now is my zip bulge. I want to eliminate zip bulge here. So on the waistline, on the zipper part, I'm just going to go in like this by half of an inch. So after going in by half of an inch, then I'm now going to mark from here. The original zip allowance is 1½. So from this one half of an inch, I'm going to mark my new zip allowance. So this is it here. So I'm now going to connect it. So I'm now going to go down here from this place, from the neck area. or from the shoulder line, I'm going to go down by, this totally depends on you. Some people connect it straight like this. Some people connect it down to this straight. But for me, I'm just going to go down by 3.5 inches. Then I'm going to connect it like this. Can you see? Then with my straight ruler, I'm going to connect this point to the blouse length. Next thing I want to work on now is my dart. So in order to create the dart, I will need my round waist measurement. So some people use nipple to nipple measurement for the back too. This totally depends on you, it is your choice. But for me, I want to use my waist. So I'm going to use my waist divided by 8. So, or you just do your round waist divided by 4. The round waist I'm working with here is 28. 28 divided by 4 is going to give me 7. Then 7 divided by 2. So it will give me 3.5. So 3.5. So this 3.5, I'm going to extend it all the way up and all the way down. So I will come here on this armhole line. So remember, this is 3.5 from this new zipper line. So if I start from here, that will give me 4 inches. If I start from the original zip line, so I will now come to the original zip line here and mark 4 inches. I hope you understand. On the waistline, from the original zip line, if I measure what I have here for my dart, it is 4 inches. So I'm now going to go up on the armhole line and measure from this original zip line and mark 4 inches. So this is it here. I'll do the same thing on the blouse length, 4 inches. Then I'll take my straight ruler and connect it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark out my dart. So the dart I'm working with, I want to do half inch dart on both sides. So I'll just mark half inch here, half inch here. So I'm just going to connect this to this, connect this to this. You can do as much as 1/4 inch, it totally depends on you, but this is the back. There is no bust at the back, so you can freestyle as much as you want. So this is my blouse length, so I'll go up from my blouse length by 2 inches, then connect to the dart.
So the next thing I want to do now is to impute my round body measurement. So I'll start with my bust. The bust I'm working with is 35. 35 divided by 4 is going to give me 8.75. So I'm just going to already mark it out, and I'm going to add 2 inches allowance. Then I notice there is a slight shortage on that part. Then I'm going to measure it and impute it. The next thing is to impute my round waist measurement. The waist I'm working with is 28. 28 divided by 4 is going to give me 7. So I'm just going to mark it apart from after the zip allowance, 7 inches. Then I'm going to measure the dart allowance I gave. So I'm going to replace it, the 1 inch, then add 2 inches sewing allowance. Then I'll move to the blouse length and measure my hip. Hip divided by 4, the hip is 41. 41 divided by 4 is going to give me 10 and a cutter, so I'll mark that and add 2 inches sewing allowance. So I'm just going to connect the 3 points together with my ruler. So the next thing I want to do now is to create the back neckline. So I'm just going to go down from the shoulder line by 1.5. Then I'm going to maintain the 3 inches neck width since it's the same thing I use for the front. So I'm just going to use my curve ruler to mark out the line and create the curve. So right now I'm just going to add 1/2 inch seam allowance to the shoulder slope, because if I don't add it, it is going to affect my blouse by the time I'm done. So it is important to add it. Then I'm going to sort of create like a back yoke, a yoke for the back. So what I'm just going to do is from that chest line, I'm just going to go down by 1 inch, then mark it a little bit forward, then connect it into the point on my armhole. You see that point where I measure the bust divided by 4, that's where I'm going to connect it. But I would advise you not to do this because I regretted connecting into that point. So if you want to do this, is either you go up or you go down by at least 1/2 inch from that point that I'm about to connect it into. So you can go up or go down, just don't connect into that point on the that I'm connecting to right now. So now I'm just going to add 1/2 inch seam allowance to the hem line, which is going to be my allowance for joining the main fabric to the lining. So I'm just going to connect it like this. Right now we are done drafting the pattern, so the next thing now is just to cut it out. So when you are done cutting it out and you are cutting the fabric, don't forget to add 1/2 inch seam allowance to the necessary areas, like that area on the dart. You know you are going to cut out the dart, so you will need 1/2 inch to join it, to join the two sides together. Then you will add 1/2 inch to this part on the yoke, the down part of the yoke, then the upper part of this down part. Then on the neck area you might need to add at least 1/4 inch to that neckline, especially if you are going to turn it with bias or anything. So add 1/4 inch so you don't have shortage by the time you are joining the front shoulder to the back. So the next video is going to be about how to put the piece together. Thank you.